wonder whether it's worth opening this out now to the rest of the gathered round.
Well, this is an issue that the government has actually taken on to its credit. I mean, it has a higher apprenticeship fund,
exactly,
£5 million just announced. I don't know whether after the University Vocational Awards Council, we're involved in one that wants to do with construction in Middlesex University. Right. And that is aimed specifically at spreading out good practice to small and medium-sized companies.
But I think that's precisely the point, that for many small enterprises particularly, which are the vast majority of businesses in this country, the expenditures, the sort of commitments that Alice is making in terms of Alex's workload, in terms of the support that's available to him, is something that many of them feel they can't afford. And so a financial incentive seems to be some of the mechanism that's needed to try and say, we can compensate you for the amount of time that you're going to be losing for the short period, because in the long run, certainly surveys that I've seen before suggest that actually many employers are very supportive of higher apprenticeships. It's simply that many of them, actually I suspect, employers are probably more pro than the learners, and that's not necessarily because learners don't want to go on, it's more they don't realise there's the opportunity there. But I think that government action to help fund is probably one of the reasons why we see a greater level of progression from apprenticeships to higher apprenticeships in the northwest and the northeast, where there have been projects that have been running for decades now, whereas down in the southeast it's kind of been taken for granted. It's affluent, they don't need it, and arguably I think many of the smaller companies do need that support.
Well, this network, I think, with the apprenticeship company providing the support and the infrastructure that was referring to. We've done a lot of case study work on this down many years now. We've been banging on about higher apprenticeship models that one had developed for the best part of 10 years. One issue that constantly comes up is the lack of confidence in vocational learners, and there are lots of them. Young people have come through school, not particularly enjoyed school, not particularly done well, sort of actually hated school. And so the prospect of going into higher education is actually terrifying for them, despite all the practical experience that they got. And they do need, some of them, a lot of support in the early stages, particularly with study skills and particularly with writing.
Half of it is confidence building, and Russell personally will be better with figures. Although we'd say afternoon assault, but Crowley sends 17% to university. 17% of the students, they go to university. That's, we've got a huge task and challenge in front of us.
Absolutely. And there's that perception about the South being affluent, but there are clear pockets of deprivation across the area. That's not necessarily always the barrier, it's one of them. I think, as you said very clearly, it's about learners who perhaps find a more traditional style of education off-putting. It's not one that works for them. And then putting them into a more practical mode of learning is appropriate, but nonetheless there's that level of support. Couple that with the fact that learners are mixing being at work with being in college. It does mean that the support mechanisms available to them, both from the employer, but crucially I think from the educational provider, are really key.